What is up, horror hounds? I'm sorry, it's been a little while. We had a little bit of computer problems. We got them all resolved. So we're going to do a number of movies tonight. I can't tell you how many we're going to end up doing. But this is what you get. And so here we go. Let's go ahead and roast. All right. Roast. All right. Our first movie tonight is a movie called Rebirth, which was pretty interesting. Pretty fucking dark, too.
Yeah, it was really dark.
What else was she just in? We just watched. We were like, who is that bitch from? And it was her.
Yeah, it was her. And she played the former mother of Boogeyman. She was in the Boogeyman.
Oh, she was in the Boogeyman, which is a movie that we're going to theoretically probably not show you tonight, but like in a little bit.
She's really a good actress.
She is a good actress. She's very...
I thought she was really good in this. I think the Boogeyman in general, which we'll talk about later, was too silly for her to like really shine as an actress, but she was good in that too.
Sure.
Your daughter's name?
This was a spotlight role for
Lila
her.
Morales.
And that lady is actually
Also in Scrubs,
she is the nurse from Scrubs,
where she also plays a nurse.
And she plays...
I don't know if she's in the maternity ward in Scrubs though.
So, the premise of this movie is lady from Scrubs. Her. Nope, not her.
They say they don't have her. I'm trying to figure out what to
also not her.
tell the mother.
There she is.
Not
her.
Almost.
We're getting there. There she is.
Okay. So, lady from Scrubs has a daughter. She's a nurse.
She's like between 4 and 6. I think she's maybe, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that
Anyway.
feels about right.
Yeah.
So, mom is living in an apartment, and she has, dad is not around anymore.
Aww. Or maybe ever, who knows? Maybe he was a sperm donor, whatever. Single mom, taking care of her daughter.
Yeah.
Nurse, maternity nurse, in the maternity ward, hard stuff. So, she has to go in for, an emergency C-section or something, I don't know. And so being apparently good friends with the neighbor, she drops her little girl off with the neighbor, right? And she's like, here you go. And then she goes to work, and then there's a scene where, she goes to the bathroom, she's got her phone in her back pocket, in her scrubs, and she goes to the bathroom and her phone falls in the toilet. And then she's like, well, I'm sure everything is fine. The woman's very trustworthy that I left my kid with. And she's working a 12 or 24 hour shift or something. Her phone finally dries out. She gets all these missed calls. No, she goes home. I don't even think she gets missed calls. She goes home. The door is ajar. There's puke on the floor. Not a good sign.
It wasn't even regular puke either. It was blood puke.
Yeah.
So
not good. And then she checks her messages, and then she goes back to her hospital where her child has... Alright, spoilers. I'm telling you,
it's not even spoilers because it's the whole plot point of the movie.
I guess that's true. It's in the trailer. So she's holding her daughter has caught this insane sudden case of bacterial meningitis just out of the blue.
Yeah.
And then so she dies and she goes to the morgue. The mom comes and she's like, where's my kid? And she's like, I don't know where your kid is. But in actuality, she does know where her kid is. So the lady, the mortician, she's not the mortician. She's a...
coroner.
She's
No, she's the coroner. She's not a mortician because a mortician is the guy
the coroner is the one that picks the dead body up. She's the one that analyzes the death, and I think
that's the coroner.
No, the coroner picks the corpse up.
No.
Is it?
That's No, that's the forensic people.
I don't think forensic people get involved unless there's like mysterious circumstances.
Well, no.
I guess we'll find out on October 8th, right?
Probably.
We should write down questions for that.
For what?
What's the difference between all of these things? Well, anyway, no, she's a pathology expert. She's a pathogens person.
Pathologist?
A pathologist. Anyway, so this woman works in the morgue, and she's always looking through a microscope. Maybe she doesn't even have an official title, she's just... Anyway, so this little girl goes through. Her blood type matches up with some kind of crazy... Do I just tell the whole thing? I'm just gonna say the whole fucking plot.
Well, I mean, it's in the trailer.
I just want to make sure I'm not gonna get me in trouble later with you.
For...
having to edit so many things out.
Oh, no, there's gonna be plenty of edits.
Well, you can talk, too. Just because this was my pick
Can
doesn't
I?
mean that. It's a part.
Well,
stay tuned for part 2. See if we stay married.
Anyways.
Please.
No, you go ahead.
No, I want you to say something.
No, this is you specifically wanted to review this movie, and I want you to review it because I feel like this movie impacted you more so than it did for me. This movie, for me, was more of a kind of like...
I'm gonna say a lot of things.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's a clip show.
Okay, so basically you have these two very different characters here. You have this one woman whose sole focus is like, not only is her focus like being a mom full time, but also being like a maternal ward nurse where she brings children into the world all the time, you know? So you have this weird archetype of her being this like extremely maternal sort of figure, right?
Yeah.
And then in the opposite end, you have this very cold figure.
Guys.
So it's basically like, it's kind of like Reanimator.
You?
But with like a very, very female touch on it.
Well, and on top of that, not necessarily quite as much of the like extreme level of it was basically like female-based Reanimator.
Yeah.
Which is an aspect of this movie that I thought was I appreciated a whole lot because I think like at this point, like halfway through, I looked over at Corey and I was like, this is a new version of Reanimator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was great. They both were really, really good.
They were. Absolutely.
So she plays this really cold-hearted kind of mortician or coroner. We'll do some research on that. I'm not sure, pathologist, something.
It was a pathologist.
She can't be left alone.
A story that Mary Shelley would be proud of. Really?
You think so?
Really, you guys? Really?
I mean, they can say that about anyone.
Do you have a
that's
pullout?
dead. They're not around to stick up for themselves.
futon.
But it was a good story.
It was. So we haven't covered a plot synopsis for this yet?
We started. So her little girl dies of meningitis. The cold-hearted mortician, she is like, oh, this kid is the same blood type that I am. She takes the corpse home with her, and then she proceeds to figure out a way to bring her back from the dead. She's like, oh, well, a bacterial infection isn't anything that somebody can't, maybe come back from with the right kind of treatment. And so eventually the mom comes, well, not eventually, like the day of, as soon as she finds out that her daughter has died, she goes to the morgue and she's like, where's my kid? She's like, I don't have her. And it starts this mom on this, I'm gonna hunt you down until I figure this out.
Which is understandable.
Totally, yeah. Because it's like, you don't just lose the body of your 4-year-old, somewhere in the city. That's horrifying. I mean, it's like
6 to 8.
4 to 6, I think.
4 to 6.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so eventually she finds out that this lady is basically brought her home, and she's trying to figure out how she's managed to bring her kid back to life, and like, is her kid the same? It's like, it's a real weird gray area but they don't focus on any of that.
It did feel very, it did have a very hardcore, like, Reanimator vibe to it. Like, okay, well, I understand that your dad died, and now we're going to try and kind of indiscreetly bring him back to life, and he may be the same guy, but maybe not. Kind of feel to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least in my opinion, this movie had a very hard Reanimator vibe, but it wasn't so much the Stuart Gordon camp. It was more so like the very serious. It wasn't even
interesting seeing these two competing motives, but for the same end. It's like there's this one woman who wants to use science and is kind of like void of human emotion. This lady right here, and she wants this little girl to stay alive because it'll mean so much for her research, right? And then the other woman, the same motive to keep this little girl alive because of her maternal drive to want her child to be okay.
Yeah,
it's just the movie allows both of those motives to go down the darkest avenue that they both possibly can. It wasn't a feel-good movie, for sure.
No.
It was really, really dark, but I think it was really well done. And it was also very believable, because, I mean, in the same aspect that I don't super love the whole chick boss, the girl boss stuff, like, they do a weird thing in horror where they're like, oh, well, our girl villains are going to be basically like Jason Voorhees and completely void of any, human emotion. And you got to see that in this character, but it worked because it was replaced by, like, she's well, and on top of that, like, she had a really weird backstory. Mm-hmm. Her mom died of cancer.
It's not the Martin. No, it was her dad.
No, it was her mom.
Was it her mom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because the whole movie is very maternal based.
Yeah.
Well, and like not maternal, but it's very female.
Yeah.
Because it's like daughter, mother, two of these women. It was very smartly focused on too much of the good thing that people focus on as women. Like, oh, well, you're a mother, and you're trying to protect your child. You want the best for them, and also you're guilt-ridden for not being a better parent, maybe. Like, you have a lot to make up for. And then on the other hand, you have this woman who's very career-driven, and she's a genius, but at the cost of, she's kind of sacrificed part of her humanity for her own research.
At the cost of her westing herself into a corner.
I think it was just beautifully executed. Anyway, this is a long tangent. All to say, they really, really knew their villains. Well, they're all villains in this movie in a way.
They are all villains in this movie in a way, and I agree with that. But there was also whoever wrote this was
good job.
Yeah,
effective.
It was very effective. It was very emotional as being a kind of like a psychological horror.
Absolutely.
Because there was a lot of questionable kind of things that were happening in the science realm, and then there was also this mom who was trying to keep her daughter alive again.
Yeah, the whole movie just kind of aches this morality question, and it kind of begs, we the audience to, I don't know, answer to that. It's weird. It's dark, and it was psychologically very, very good.
I 1,000% agree. All right.
It's a hard watch, though.
It is a hard watch, especially if there is.
I have a child sensitivity in kids in movies. I don't. Horror movies in particular.
Yes.
It takes me out. But I appreciate the way that it was. I don't want to say it was tastefully done in this movie.
It was delicately done.
It was necessary to drive the plot.
It absolutely.
There's a lot of that stuff where it's like they'll force it on you, and it's not necessary. It's just kind of like a cheap shock value. But it was used.
This was not.
All of this was used in a way to drive the character and the story arc.
I don't think that this was forcibly used. in that aspect, it was more so like, okay, I'm going to tell a story, and now we're all invested.
It was respectfully used, I guess. I don't know. It was still
tastefully used. It was tastefully used. Would you recommend this movie?
To the right crowd, absolutely.
Okay.
To sensitive people, no, maybe not. I don't know.
Do you have a good time with this movie?
Oof, good time? No. Good time's real superficial. I appreciated this movie.
I'll take that.
There was a profound nature to this movie that we don't get to appreciate in horror movies very often.
There was.
And it was also, man, was it ever clean? It was a clean, tidy ending. It all made sense.
But it was also incredibly dark. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a very dark, looking to go in the horror comedy realm. Like, this is not.
Yeah, like in the world of horror, a good time is pretty well meaningless. Like, this stays with you. This has an aftertaste.
It does. It does. I take that all day.
Sure.
Yeah, hell yeah. To ask if you had a good time with it, were you engaged with it? I
definitely was engaged with it.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed it. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say I enjoyed it. Like, I watched it because it was like I don't know, a human study almost. That's kind of the horror that it was, a psychological human study. This movie was
very, I think this movie is very uncomfortable in varying aspects of ways.
It was just nice to see something that wasn't mindless, you know? Like, we watch a lot of mindless horror movies that don't say anything and that don't matter. And not that this matters, but it's thought-provoking at the very least, and I think we need so much more of that. You know?
But I'm also a creature feature slasher guy. So like
I am too.
So this was very different. This was very different. And I think it absolutely worked out because it was kind of in the same vein of trying to keep that sort of like awful feeling, which is what horror movies are supposed to do. And they nailed it. With this.
They definitely disturbed with this one.
Would you say that you would recommend this movie?
Yeah, to the right crowd for sure.
To the right crowd.
Yeah, to the people who would appreciate it.
Did you have a good time in the aspect of where it kept your interest and like you had a good resolve at the end?
I would like to see more from this director.
I take that as a yes.
Sure. I'm not gonna say I had a good time.
I'm not asking. Well, I am asking if you had a good time with it,
after watching a movie like
also
this.
Like.
It's like, did you see Sophie's Choice?
Was it a good time?
Have a good time?
Well, like, no. What? Was it a good time enough for you to continue on with it? All right, fucking whatever.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I understand what you're saying. That being said, that is it for us tonight. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully, we will be back sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. And we will see you guys in... What is it?
The future?
It is the future. We'll see you guys in the future.
Now it's the past.
Now it's the past.
Weird.
What? Well, why don't you do the intro this time?
No, I'm not going to do the intro.
Why not?
I don't want to. It's your job. It's in the contract that I don't have to do that.
What? It was not in the contract.
It's in the fine print. This is your intro. It's not how I would intro.
Yeah, but you don't like my intro anymore.
Yeah, but I said horror the last time and you didn't like that.
That's not true.
Are we recording now?
Yeah.
What's up, horror hounds?
Okay. Alright, never mind.
Can you pause? QT. I think you should smoke a little bit of pot. I think it'll stabilize you. I think you're a little bit drunk right now, if I'm being honest, and I think you should smoke a little bit of pot.
Well, I know, but that's where I'm supposed to be.